Welcome to the 𝐭𝐴𝑡𝐴𝑠 crypto trading channel. Hey, cryptillions and crypto crackheads. I'm glad you're returning. Today is Tuesday, May 11th, 2021, and this is the initiation of the timification. Turn the playback speed up to ×2 if you're a native English speaker, and let's get rolling. Hey, new viewers, this crypto channel does two things, and the two things we cover here over and over every day in and day out are the two things that you're doing wrong. First, you don't know how to enter trade safely. So I know you've listened to a YouTuber, you just bought the coin and then you're down 30%, right? You're at the right place. The second thing you're not doing, you don't know how to sell. Heck, you probably have never sold. You're buying and praying. I teach you how to sell at strategic levels and at strategic amounts. You can get a teaser of that in my description section where it says library. You'd want to look at the 10 bag or the 20 bag video. I think it's the same thing, bag video. And I show you how much more profitable it is to be selling at strategic levels at strategic amounts to buy back lower. So I convert you in from a buyer and prayer to a profit pimp. So if you want to be a profit pimp and have a great bull run here, then you are at the right place as TradingView decides to reload. I think I have a TradingView on on my other computer. So if that all sounds good, let's get going. All right. So yesterday in my overall market sentiment video, I let everybody know, hey, there's nothing to freak out about. Bitcoin's just following a trend in this line, and this line, the details is for patrons only, crackheads and above levels, tiers. But yeah, a lot of crypto YouTubers, panic, this and that. No. Actually looks like a great time to buy. And what happened? I think I actually said that in the video. And what happened? Well, it ended up being pretty decent looking time. All things relative. One thing I've been scoping out is this. To see my projection of Bitcoin coming up to test this one more time, maybe pulling back to finally hit its weekly 21 down here, and then breaking out in June. I kind of think that I might break out a little sooner and follow something more similar to this path, which I might have to adjust now, obviously. Something like that. There you go. I think I might break out more immediately and ride this line a little bit instead of writing down here. So, so I've been having luck playing different fractals. And the way I do this is I use this this bars pattern, which I think is inside of the one where you see the long positions on TradingView here, these dotted lines. If you go to the bars pattern, you star it, it'll be up here. Anyway, I take the bars pattern and I try to pick, okay, if this dip were similar to this dip, from dip to top, where would that put us? And I do this a couple times. And sometimes you got to stretch it out, all that kind of stuff, right? So you want to try to make it fit a little bit. So this needs to be stretched out a little higher so it fits these like waves and stuff. So about like that, maybe down a little bit more. Something like that. So if Bitcoin moves similarly to that last time, does it hit the origin line? Yeah, it does. Interesting. So this kind of satisfies the idea that Bitcoin might not break out until June, but Ethereum might keep doing its thing and Bitcoin holds steady sideways and up for a while, right? That supports that theory. Or this fractal could just lead to this, actually, if it changes from this point. So really, my projections of Bitcoin moving forward between these origin lines, which new viewers, I have a video on origin lines that explains what we're looking at here. No one else on YouTube used them before I did. Now a few people are using them, but these are kind of like my trademark thing. So I have a video on them in the description section if you want to check that out after this video. All right, so and then let's pick a different one. Let's say what if Bitcoin moves more similarly to this fractal. Let's go from peak to dip and line up the dips and try to make sure all the crevices kind of align. So I might have to stretch it out or so. Something about like that. And move this guy up. So if Bitcoin moved like this one, it would actually support this theory here. So the last two waves, or the last two ways that Bitcoin dipped and got over, got out of that dip, one way satisfies this projection, roughly, right? And the other one satisfies this projection. Pretty neat stuff too, right? So a lot of times coins do move in very, very, very similar ways. So right now, simply to add on more evidence that Bitcoin is still on track doing exactly what we think it's going to do on this channel. Sorry. Even the fractals are aligning with this. I don't know why I'm choking on video. All right. Maybe I should turn myself up to ×2 speed. ×2 speed cough dip. How did that sound on ×2 speed? All right, so everything looks on track. Honestly, there's not a lot of analysis to do because it's doing roughly what I've been thinking it's going to do since it hit 47K. I don't need to change my analysis. There's not much to do. It's on path. So let's flip to Ethereum. So, Ethereum, per my tweet that, hey, Ethereum might take a quick little nosedive here. Try to warn, my patrons and Twitter followers. I was 3 days too early. I was thinking something like, I thought the short-term ribbons were going to be hit on Ethereum on the 4-hour. I thought it was petering out here and getting ready to do it there, maybe dip a little bit below. So I was thinking it might hit like 30,500 or 3,100. However, it made one push forward and then did it 3 days later. But still, 3 days of heads up. I mean, that's a nice time. That's an okay time to be sitting on Tether. And had you been prepared, you would have caught some dang nice dips, right? Some damn nice dips. So that's the importance of trying to read. If you like altcoins, you have to not cough as much as me, because then you can't even look at the charts if you're coughing as much. But you have to pay very close attention to the market leader, which right now is Ethereum, as we've been saying for quite a while. And I was not the first on YouTube to say that. So that is one thing I ended up agreeing with other traders had been saying. So I'm not first to do everything, right? So basically what I was seeing is, hell, you don't even need ribbons. So for new viewers, you don't have these ribbons, just normal EMAs, which I teach you how to do in the description section, how to set up a chart. You just look at this. It's been a long time. Ethereum's been on a hella run, staying above its 4-hour 10 and 21. It usually doesn't stay above this long. It usually will come down, tag its 55, and then make 1 or 2 more pushes up. So I was thinking, yo, this is not normal. It needs to come down to roughly its 55 or at least below its 4-hour 21. This is not sustainable. It will take a dip soon. I thought that dip was coming about here when it was getting less confident. I thought it was going to come down to about 31.50, somewhere around there. Did it 3 days later. But when you get that feeling in regards to the market leader and you like to trade small cap coins or other altcoins, whether it's mid caps like Veracity or BPro, you have to be paying attention to this stuff. So when I make a video or I make a tweet or patrons, when I give you a heads up that stuff's been hot too long, it might not mean you sell everything now and buy back an hour later. It might mean having Tether ready within a week from there. It will end up being you'll be handsomely rewarded. So I typically have a fairly good read on when the market's been too hot too long and to what degree. Similar to how I was calling that dip before it was really talked about, and how, but I was way too early on it, right? It held up for a whole month. I was a whole month ahead. But the whole damn time I thought, it's going to dip, and then it finally did, right? A day after I flipped my probabilities, but it was still the third most probable that it would dip. But anyway, so yeah, when you get a market read like this, if you start selling your 20 bags and things have been selling, it might be wise if you're reading the market leader's been too hot too long, it needs to come down to at least its 4-hour 55. It hasn't done it in a while. Holding Tether in those types of moments is a good opportunity. But here's the thing. This is why it's so hard to do. Because typically when you decide to take profits and hold Tether, you can't sell tops. So then you'll see a bunch of altcoins go up like 30%. Like, oh, I'm missing out. It's going to keep going up forever. I'm missing my chance. And then you want to buy back, deploy your Tether, and then it crashes right when you buy it back, right? So that's the difficult part about it. Or like me, in Bitcoin, I was sitting on a lot of Tether for a while, watching Bitcoin just make barely inch out new highs, even though I was kind of expecting it because these origin lines. But still, it sucked. Like, man, I was holding Tether back here, then did it again. Then I was getting mocked for calling a dip, way back here, and then when it dipped, came back, I got mocked more, and then it finally dipped. But I was handsomely rewarded for holding Tether. It took a while. It really sucked watching everything go up like this, just me sitting on my hands with like 15% of my portfolio. And I deployed some here, which is slightly too early, and I played the rest, after it was a little bit more confident in alts. So being prepared with Tether at times when you read the market has been hot for a while. So for Bitcoin, it's sideways. It's not the market leader. If Ethereum's been hot for a while, or if it ends up hitting this origin line around $5,000, might be a good time to, in your other positions, to be holding some Tether. It could end up being a good idea. So the essence of this video is to see in retrospect the two different types of times to hold Tether. In short little market dips, where you just need a quick touch, when the market leader's been too out too long, staying above the 4-hour 21, for example, is a good line to use. Typically likes to hit this, then bounce off. So let's actually just backtest that. Let's look at some other power moves. So yeah, this whole move, right? Look, throughout this whole move, it stayed above its 21 here. Then what it did, it dipped down to its 89 on the 4-hour. Kind of cooled its tits, kept the move. Hit its 4-hour, 55, and 89 sort of. And then it kind of topped out there for a little bit. But during this whole move over a month period, if you get the feeling that it hasn't hit the 4-hour 55 in a while, right? If you ever get that feeling and you have put in sell orders, limit sells for a small portion of several different bags, and they end up hitting during this time, it might be wise to hold Tether until you see the market leader in its 4-hour 55 or slightly lower, right? And if you're anticipating a big dip, which I recently was, and it finally ended up happening, it might be good to sit on it for quite a while. But I personally don't anticipate a big dip until probably late August, early September, or middle September. I think Bitcoin will probably get to like 110, 130K first, maybe 110. Actually, let's take a look. Where do I think it'll get to? This is, if we want to do some long-term analysis, or mid-longish term analysis. Let's see, the orange line. How did Bitcoin react to the orange line? So it tested it, broke out, tested, came back down. Okay. Corrected very quickly. Okay, I don't think it's going to be that quick this time. What month did it touch that yellow line? It touched it in August, so that would equate. Okay. So yeah, this actually, this would equate to Bitcoin just inching up, making higher highs around 80K, and when it finally breaks out, it goes to about 110K. That's kind of what it looks like. And let's see. Maybe Wix Pass comes back down. So yeah, around September. Yeah, exactly. Late August, September, kind of how I was guessing. So this does imply that Bitcoin will move sideways until June, but inch up, make a higher high at 71, make a higher high at 80K, and then bust out of this later June. So that still means the market's confident. Your alts should be screaming, particularly if Cardano can end up taking the lead once Ethereum's cooling its tits after it hit 5K. So the market, as Ethereum approaches this, that could be wise to hold a little bit of Tether just in case this, bounces between all the way down like that. It could do this, but I don't think it will. I think it's actually more probable it goes past it, sticks its landing, and then makes way up to 10K. I think that's much more probable than it coming all the way back down. But it's panic selling. It could easily initiate it, and then it would, you'd be able to pick it back up around 3K. So really, holding Tether around the time Ethereum's getting close, which could be this week. I think it's going to be this week or next week that Ethereum's hitting about 5K. So I think, like I was saying earlier, but as this closed candle here, the next week's going to be a $1,000 candle. It was, as I mentioned in my video before this candle even started. I think this one will be potentially this one, or it's going to be the week of next week that it hits 5K. So as you get some alts that really break out, and if you play alts, it could be wise in this instance with Ethereum targeting this to try to time it that as your alts are screaming, you might, not financial advice, might have limit sells ready, not for your whole bag. Like if you have Phantom, not sell all your Phantom, maybe take 10, 15% of it, put limit sells, 70% and 50% and 40% above current price, right? or your entry point, whatever, or your actually current price. And as things are screaming with Ethereum as it comes up here this next week and a half, as those limit orders sell, don't expect all of them to sell. You want to shoot high, and some of them sell, or some of them initiate, some of them don't. As you hold that tether, look to see what Ethereum's reaction is going to be off this. So the reason I'm doing this video very specifically this time is because the last 2 times I've talked about potentially holding tether, I did it with pretty short notice and I wasn't very clear about it. So although this is obviously for entertainment only, or trading Pokemon cards here, talking about Pokemon and Pokédex and all that stuff, for entertainment, clearly purposes, but I want to be very specific. This is what I am doing, and this is why it is a good idea. It's literally every single time always paid off by a mile. Does it always pay off the next day? No. I mean, hell, when Bitcoin took a dip, I was sitting on my hands for a month with 15% of my, it might have been 20, it was 15% of my portfolio. As everything was just skyrocketing. It sucked. But I got everything way lower from where I would have got it had I bought it then, right? As I was getting antsy about everything skyrocketing. So this is like a holding tether could be a good idea video. And here's all the reasons in the graphs why. However, I am forgetting one thing. I think I need to fit in Cardano into the mix. Unfortunately. As much as I bashed Cardano, it could be its time to shine. So what could end up happening is we have a tangent wave, sine wave, and cosine wave all playing back and forth, essentially holding the market up as Bitcoin goes sideways and up, as Ethereum pings off and corrects around this line, regardless. So in all instances but this one, if Ethereum does this one and comes back to this line, it will pull the whole market down, right? The whole Cardano and Bitcoin won't be able to hold it up. And the market will take like a 20% dip, and it might last a bit. It might last a month, right? It might have 2 dips in a row because of Ethereum. However, I think it's more probable that one of these are happen, but still, when this happens, if it goes past it, goes to 5,600, kind of like I'm suspecting might be the most probable. I think it's going to overshoot the 5K. But it might hit just shy of 5K, right? But anyway, it'll do one of these 2 things almost very likely. However, if Ethereum does this and it pings off, that's still a pretty big dip. So if Ethereum goes down 20% in 5 days, your alts are going to go down 30%. So it's nice to have things on sale with Tether, right? And again, very specifically, as it approaches, I'm not saying market sell your entire bag. If you have tens of thousands of dollars in something, let's say you have 30 grand in Trias, which kind of is a hot topic now. As Trias keeps screaming past, $30, $40, if that ends up happening in the next couple weeks, having limit sells ready, some of them initiating, not worrying if Trias goes to 50, doesn't matter. You're only selling a portion of your bag with the idea that you will be handsomely rewarded in actually both of these scenarios. And the likelihood of one of these playing out in the next, on the 3rd week from this week, the correction from the close of, so the next week should close strong. The week after might start strong, and then mid next, the week thereafter, like Wednesday, I think a correction could happen. I think that might be how it plays out. So having Tether ready around then in either scenario, which both are most probable together, way more probable than this, is going to be very wise. In addition to the 3rd most probable scenario, having Tether on hand, if Ethereum ends up doing something crazy like this, oh shit, I'm just messing this up. But if it pings off this, comes all the way down, it's going to be extremely wise to have Tether. So I think in all scenarios, it's going to be pretty wise to have some limit sells ready. So although this is not financial advice, so I thought I would be hyper specific this time. Okay. Now, will I talk this hyper specifically again in the near future? No, I might just hint at it, and then only the brand new viewers will kind of miss out on the hints. But now that the community is getting a little bigger, viewership's getting a little bigger, this is what I'm talking about. These are all the reasons why I foresee the same idea happening not just in late August or September, but a couple little market corrections, between there, similar to what we just had, similar to my previous heads up that I put out on Twitter and Patreon. So a good idea to be having Tether right now. And you get things on a flash sale, right? That doesn't last for a month at a time, similar to our previous correction. So there are two types of reasons, a point that I started, I didn't finish. There are two types of dips that you want to have Tether for. The dips where you're mid-move and something like the market leader has been above its 4-hour 10 and 21 for too long. It needs to come down to the 55. So you want to have Tether ready for that, even though you think it'll keep charging up, but you get a flash sale. Flash sales are one type. How do you get a read on that? It's tough. You just essentially see, has the market leader been above its 4-hour 21 for too long relative to what it did in previous moves? That's it. That's really all you do. You just get a feel for the market, which is what I did 3 days earlier than that happened, right? I was only 3 days too early. In retrospect, really, that was not a horrible call. Now, my specific call of trying to buy Ethereum at 31.50, okay, that didn't work out, but holding Tether was a great idea, right? So that's one, flash sales. The other one is when Bitcoin has some nasty divergence on both the daily and the weekly, which it has already played this out, which is why I was so bearish, or short-term bearish, because this right here is the nastiest damn diversion on the daily that Bitcoin has ever had in its history. This is why I was like 100% certain it was going to be a nasty dip. I'm not for sure why this wasn't clear to other folks. Maybe because there was bullish divergence. Okay, here's one thing. One thing I've noticed, so a lot of folks who weren't seeing this, they were seeing bullish divergence on other time frames, right? Like on 4-hour and this and that. However, in my opinion, and I have not run analytics on this, so this is kind of like a cherry on top of the Tether video. My opinion and my analysis is that in bullish moves, in a macro bullish moves, bullish divergence doesn't really count for much. It's already bullish. So therefore, if there is bearish divergence on a major time frame during a macro bullish move, that by far trumps any bullish freaking divergence you're seeing on a smaller time frame, or even the same, like it can't be the same time frame necessarily, but a smaller time frame. Right? I think that's where I saw a lot of analysts go wrong during this. If it's a bullish macro move, bullish divergence is watered down. It doesn't hold as much weight as it does during a midterm correction. Then bullish divergence holds weight because you're calling out of a dip. So did bullish divergence on the 4-hour, 2-hour count for something in Bitcoin here if it struck? Yeah, actually, that's why I longed Bitcoin around here, because I saw it on the 1-hour, I think. Let's see, how did I do this? Pretty sure it did. Yeah, exactly, along this right here. So, lowest low of RSI. Sort of a mini low, this is common. Higher RSI, but a lower low in price, higher low in RSI, very clear. I actually longed that. So that's bullish divergence. So bullish divergence counts harder, like its stone is heavier when the general direction is bearish. So it's inversely correlated. It's strength, I guess, right? Versus what the current move is, inversely correlated with the strength of the divergence you're seeing. So that's why I was so stuck on the bearish divergence, and I was convinced there was going to be a dip. So that's kind of your cherry on top. But it's very important to know that, because that will note the next time it will be wise to be holding on to Tether perhaps for like 4 weeks at a time. And that could happen, per my current analysis, roughly late August, early September. But if we don't see any divergences, then it could be delayed till, late September or whatever, right? I typically wait for divergence on Bitcoin, which in general terms I think is, I don't know. I think Bitcoin will lead the next dip as well. But I think Ethereum is leading the charge out of the dip. But anyway, so the reason I'm tagging this onto my Tether video is because that's going to be your next great opportunity, is to be able to read nasty divergences as everything's bullish on Bitcoin on the daily, and perhaps even on the weekly. And what you look for on the weekly is a little more like ticks. So if price makes a high here, makes a higher high in price here, and then makes it even higher here as the RSI gets stuck below the moving average, this is the time to start keeping Tether on the weekly. On the daily, it looks a little different. It usually does this pattern, like so you see how the RSI moving average does a whole hump? It usually does a hump on the moving average twice. So the moving average makes one high, the next moving average hump makes another one, and that strike of divergence typically is my cue if I see 2 humps on the daily instead of 3 strikes. But this time it was like 4 or 5 humps. Let's go to the daily on Bitcoin. It was ridiculous. Like I'm telling you, this was the nastiest divergence it's ever had. Look, I mean, just look at this. Look at the shapes of the white line. The white line here. So I'll just trace it. Watch. 1 hump, no divergence yet, because it made a higher high. Okay. So now technically that's the second strike. And this was higher high in price, folks. Do you see how nasty this was? Like, why wasn't this obvious? I don't get it. It's obvious to me. So will you have that perfect of a play next time? No, it's never happened before. It's not going to happen again, most likely. But this is just related to Bitcoin's move being so damn strong. And because it was strong, the relative strength had to cool down for a while. Because the first push of strength was so strong that if the next strength power move was a lot, like half as strong, it still is strong because half of the previous strength is still strong. And if the next move is half as strong, the third move is half as strong as the second, that's still enough to push price up because the first move was so big, so on and so forth, right? So, 25% of a monster number is still a monster number, right? So that's essentially why this had so much, because these first pushes were so big that it had to cut the pie several times in order for it to not make higher highs and then peter out and it pissed out, right? That's essentially what happened. It's because these were so big in strength. It had to cut it in half like 4 times. So what you'd be looking for, I typically just look for 2 mountains. And this is the moment, and when I see the RSI start to get close on the daily to its moving average, I like to be holding tether as it makes kind of a high there. You typically just draw a trend line, just like guess an angle. If in the future the first hump comes to here, the second hump is in the mid move, right? But RSI of that first one goes like this, and you're right here trying to guess. Just draw something like that, like 45-degree angle. Okay, when it gets here, this is when I want to be holding tether, assuming price makes a higher high and RSI really does stop there. Because what is possible is it keeps on going and makes it even higher high. So you got to be careful for that, right? But you need to be prepared in moments like this. So this is my tether video. How handsomely rewarded you will be if you are prepared next time. And honestly, I didn't even take my own advice. I did let everybody know, hey, I think it might be a flash crash type of deal, or not a flash crash, but I think there's going to be a small correction. And I was so caught up on my Shrimp account, I didn't want to start selling everything because then all the people who follow me, it'd just be a bad reaction. And then most of my personal account, I'm just hodling. So I didn't even take my own suggestion. Oh, I did on my futures account. I did. I actually took profits on that. I lied. I did follow my own advice, and actually it worked out really well. Because now my positions are really nice. I got Cardano I got Cardano pretty nice. So be nice to your future self. Be good to your future self. Look out for divergences on Bitcoin and or Ethereum. When you see it, don't plan to panic sell 100% of everything. Maybe 15% of your major coins, perhaps, if they're still moving up. Limit sell. I don't recommend personally market selling, not financial advice. I'm talking about Pokemon. So in order, look for divergences, make a plan in terms of limit selling, because you might get 1 or 2 more pushes up, right? That's the bad part about this is, so why don't you play the bad part? If you think now's the time, but we're going to get 1 more push up, we'll start putting limit sells just above current price, right? For 15% of some of your bags. Now you have tether. Now, if it does take a dive and you timed it roughly right within 3 weeks, right? You are handsomely rewarded. That's it. It's that simple. So be ready next time. Be good to your future self is something my 8th grade math teacher taught me. And the one thing to watch out for is you won't always be able to play that last pop correctly. So be forewarned. As a reminder, the hardest part about implementing this plan perfectly is that when you do start holding Tether and you take what has sold, your limit sells, hopefully not. I personally, I don't market sell into things because I hold small alts. I can't do that. I don't want to crash it. And plus, it's more profitable if you limit sell. But anyway, the hardest part about doing this is not scouting the divergence. It's holding back that feeling that, oh wait, it's not going to come down. Oh wait, everything's still going up. You'll be tempted to get back in. If you're confident in your analysis on Bitcoin and or Ethereum in terms of divergences, it could take a month. You're sitting on your hands and you see things going up 100%. Doesn't matter. When it comes back down more 50%, that's lower than the price you thought about buying. Because 100% up is 50% down. Right? So be forewarned. That's the hardest part about it. In order, that's what you're looking for. So be ready. Be aggressive. All right. You just got Timified. Hey, folks, if you like what you saw, new viewers, and you subscribe, try to remember, hit thumbs up to help the Google algo. And if you are new, a subscriber, please let me know whether you want to be a cryptillion or a crypto crackhead. You need to let me know your crypto pronoun. It is both gender neutral and gender fluid. Y'all just got Timified.